Yeah, hi, hello, and welcome y'all. In this video, I'm gonna be doing part 2 of my favorite anime, and in this episode, I'm gonna be doing like my personal hype show of the 10, and that'll be Jujutsu Kaisen. So, let's go ahead and get right into it for a second. So, I'm starting with like this Gojo scene right here, because like the second altered the world that they live in, like these people, the Jujutsu world, and he literally shifted the balance into their favor, the Jujutsu sorcerers, when he was born, and it forced everything around him to get stronger. And to me, that's just like honestly, like I love the pride of that, and he's honestly one of my favorite characters throughout the series. So like I just really wanted to get that like on the table for a second, because before I go any further with the anime and about why he's one of my favorite characters, I just want to go ahead and offer my appreciation for the support on my last video with the free run video. Got a pretty good amount of views and watch time and likes on the video, so I honestly do really appreciate it. And I do want to offer a sneak peek to the next two videos, which will be in the first slide, Kill a Kill, and for the video afterwards, it'll be Naruto. So, honestly, I really appreciate it, y'all. So, just wanted to get that early on in the video because I want y'all to hear it, and I'll accept all support on this video as well, and I just really appreciate it. But getting back into the anime now, and why I started with the Gojo screening, I really do see him as like one of my favorite characters across all anime. So I just wanted to highlight that fact with that intro. And I want to go into why, like, what I find to be the most important about this anime being the characters. Like, he's clearly, obviously, going to be one of my more important, like, characters. But going on to other characters now, we can talk about Yuji and Megumi, Nobara, Choso, Maki, and Gojo. And the thing that all those characters have in common to me is that they all have some kind of personal growth or a pathway to becoming, in their minds, human. And in this concept of like in with that concept in this story, those characters tend to get stronger the more human they become. So to just highlight a few of those characters and why I find them like really important alongside those reasons are Choso, and how like I'll go ahead and start with him and continue with the others right after. But with Choso and him being the eldest brother of like the cursed, uh, the death painting wounds, and him being one of 10, I believe there might be 9. It's something I forgot a little bit of, but he's the eldest of them. And Yuji, later on in the series, after their battle, that he finds out that they're related, and like once he realizes that, like he becomes like a really, he immediately snaps into like a brother figure for him. But even over time, he learns what it means to be like an actual brother and what to be human. And I have to spoil it to like explain like his ultimate sacrifice. But like he does give his life for Yuji later on in the anime, really late on in the Sukuna raid. But going on to my next character now, Maki, and her becoming free from everything that was holding her back, which was basically her clan, the Zenin clan, because her name is Maki Zenin. She comes from one of the big three Jujutsu families, and she was chained down by them, basically, her and her sister, who once her sister, also another spoiler, when she's killed by their father, she gets the heavenly restriction that she has like removed, and with that she becomes completely ripped away from cursed energy and her abusive family, and she goes on to kill them and the entire Gezenin clan. She demolishes it basically, and it sounds pretty brutal, but like the people they were, like if you read the manga, you'll understand. And I just gotta I just gotta support Maki's decision on that for real. And getting on to my third most important character, it might be a curveball, but Mahito and what it means to be human and his own selfishness. With his selfishness, he only values himself basically, and he's created from the negative energy that humans leak off of literally the fear of humans, and he's the accumulation of that. And he's basically everything there is bad about being human, but it's the feelings of the people that like they're holding back in this world. So he knows what people truly are, and that's his whole ideology. And with that, he also doesn't care about anybody but himself. So he only strives for his own power, and I I don't I find importance in it, not because I relate to it, but like it's just a cool concept and a cool character that they ended up making, whom eventually did get like his downfall. So I appreciated the downfall as much as I did his story. I so getting into the second part of my rankings, which is the enjoyment section. I find I find the fights to be the most enjoyable part of this anime, honestly. And to get right into it, my favorite fight is Gojo versus Sukuna. So with that fight, just the beginning had it added like a whole new layer to how a fight starts and how it can be managed, and that's because Gojo went into the fight with Ichichi, Utahime, and Gaku Ganji, I believe his name is. But doing a ritual, he was able to maxize his opening most powerful move, which is the Hollow Purple, and popped it off on Sukuna, right? And just to open the fight like that, because this fight had been hyped up since day one of the anime, like literally the first episode. It it was just nice to see that they would put so much effort into just how the fight starts alone, and with concepts like domain clashes being really prominent in this arc, with the Sukuna raid arc, I call it. The domain clashes. They'd clash like 5 times, Gojo and Sukuna, and honestly, like what, and to mention, like I was on a week to week basis with this anime, so like every week a chapter dropped, I was watching it. And during the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, it was so like just it was always like a head scratcher what would happen next. So even after the first domain clash, like the cliffhanger that was left on that on that chapter, like it hit a lot of us who were reading the manga. And just going off of that, like getting like going off of that, like the Maharaga and the fusion beast Agito, I believe, made it a 3v1 because Sukuna spawned those in. And when they were fighting, Gojo was still like holding his own, and it was just cool as fuck seeing the combo he ended up going off on, launching I believe 4 straight black, not 4 straight, but like 4 black fat flashes in total against Sukuna. And then even getting to his final move where he did a self-imposed, like a self-explosion, hollow purple basically. And to get to the main part I wanted to talk about with this section, it's the ending of the fight. Like, there's pros and cons to the ending, because I'm one of the people who really didn't like the ending, not necessarily because Gojo lost, but like it's just the way they like kind of did it. And I'll go into spoilers a little bit. Like, I've already spoiled a lot, but to just add a little piece of depth to this, it's like the chapter before Gojo's death, the last panel literally said he was alive and he had won. And at the start of the next one, it's a flashback. So, like, they kind of off-screened their the strongest character in the series. And I understand, like, there's reasons as to why, and when the anime comes out, they might show it, because it's going to be really hard to just show him in one section being in two, and then the next section being a Kit Kat. So it's like, hopefully they fix it then, and I'll make another video on this series when that season comes out for sure, because I can't wait. I'll do a week by week series with that shit. But I honestly didn't like that part of the fight, but I do like the fight in general. And not saying Gojo losing was a bad ending, but I liked how he did die or lost in that situation, because the story wouldn't have really went anywhere if he had won, because you take out one of the strongest characters, you gotta kind of have a backup plan. And the enemies of this, the antagonists of this show, didn't have a backup for losing to Gojo. They planned on beating Gojo, so it was realistic that he lost. But before I get on to the next section, I did want to go over like a few like side fights I really did enjoy, and those would be like Yuji and Todo versus Mahito. And the conclusion of that fight I already talked about a little bit earlier with Mahito, but like the how do I say it? The way that Yuji and Todo both fight as a duo is just, it's always peak. They're 3-0. They're 3-0 with those fights when they team up. Even going against Sukuna later on in the series, like, the fight was just hype, and Toto's ability just gets broken in that section. But I'm not going to go too much into the spoilers for every little thing. But another fight that I found like really enjoyable was Yuta versus Ishigori and Uro. And that was like when the triple domain clash like occurs. And that's like the only time we've had that happen in this anime, and even in the manga, off the top of my head. So it was just a cool concept, and even though we didn't get to see how it looks, like, it was a cool concept. And I just found it really enjoyable that Yuta and Rika also like were able to fight in a coherent stance. And the ending of that fight was also realistic, but also very enjoyable. It's like, you can tell with a lot of these fights who's gonna win before the fight starts. And I'll get into a character later on who deflects that opinion of mine, but like, all these fights make you know like who's gonna win, but like at the same time, like, it's so hard to determine because jujutsu sorcerers are con artists, so fights could go in any way. So, for instance, like that fight, like it went in Yuta could have lost, for instance, at any point, but he ends up winning the fight pretty easily, in my opinion. But I'm going off topic. One more fight I would like to go over is the Sukuna versus Yorozu. It doesn't get a lot of highlight, but like, I really did enjoy that fight. And my main reason for enjoying it is Yorozu's technique, and also Sukuna, who's now in Megumi's body for this fight. He displayed the 10 Shadows technique, which was Megumi's. He displayed it to like its highest extent outside of, well, he did use Maharaga at the end, so he used every piece of that technique, and it finally showed us like the potential Megumi had. But with his mindset, he was getting there with the domain expansion and all, but like he wasn't there yet. And Yorozu, who also had a technique that wasn't necessarily interesting, but kind of OP even with its restrictions. And what I mean by that is like I talked about Maki earlier and how she had a sister, and her sister Maizen, and she had the ability of construction. So it's how do I say it nicely? No, I ain't gonna say it nicely. Mai kind of sucked with the technique of construction, and it was because she did have limitations. She didn't have much cursed energy, and she could only form, I think it was like one bullet a day out of cursed energy. So imagine one small little bullet. Like that's all she can make with her technique a day. It's pretty useless in that case. But with Yorozu, she was able to create like a bug-like body almost, and like it sounds kind of weird, but it made her technique a lot more powerful than it should have been. And just my point is to just get to it is like the same techniques in this show. Like if there's ever a scenario where there's the same technique amongst two people, like it could be used in different ways, and whatever your imagination lets you believe you can do with your technique, you can pretty much do. So that's why her technique was a lot stronger, and she could even compete with people like Sukuna, not to like a degree where like she could have beat him, because like I said, a lot of these fights pretty much show you who's gonna win, and not saying like it choreographs it that way, but like they do. But that's one of my other favorite fights. And my last side fight that I won't go into too much detail for is Choso and Yuki versus Kenjaku. I just to stay flat with this, I just liked the fighting in general. Like they put two special grade techniques against each other in this in this fight, and I mean the one you expected to win won, but it had a curveball, and then like it had like it looked like it could have ended 3 4 different times throughout the fight, that the fight could have ended between either side, and it just gave you a run for your money. But that's about it for this section. So let's go ahead and get on to the next one. All right, so now to our third ranking, the art style. I kind of just want to freeform this part because I just have like some good things to say about the art and bad things to say about the art. So like I really don't need to like follow a script for this. But like starting with the good things, the good shit I can say about the anime is like I kind of like how they differentiate like how they draw characters, and this is in the manga specifically. I'm talking about the art in the manga. We know the anime looks great, and I honestly I love Mappa's work with most of their anime. So like if I went off of just the anime, like this ranking would be a 10, but I'm gonna give it a 9 because I'm going off of the manga. And to get back to what I was saying, like my main like praise for the draw style is that they kind of like try to follow a character's attitude and their personality. So if with like Maki, for instance, if I can find any pictures for her, like her animation, not animation, her drawing, the way she's drawn is just crazy. It's like kind of maniac, like a maniac, and that's kind of how she is once she gets to like the Sukuna raid, and also when she does the massacre in the Zenin clan. But like that would be like my main like pro for the art style. But to get to my con for it, because this is so important, it's like I love Gege's drawing, Gege Akutami. That's the author of JJK. But I love the way he draws these characters and all that. But it seems like during like the last arc of the show, like the art got lackluster. Like he was drawing like certain characters in a funky way. Even Maki's section where like he was drawing her facing Sukuna, like there was a period where he was rushed, and I was up to date with the manga and all that at the time, so I know like Gege had like either gotten sick or like there was some kind of holiday going on. But like he rushed out a chapter, the chapter with Maki, and it was I believe it was the half chapter, and just the drawing was just, it was like you could tell it was rushed, and it was like we would have been able to mind an extra week's break, like take your time on the work. But like it wasn't just that either. Like during the Gojo and Sukuna fight, it seemed like the art had changed. Like Gojo was drawn in like a like a crazy way almost. And I like if I think about it and try to be more aware, like I understand like he's kind of a maniac too, and he has never like been able to go on a rampage like he did against Sukuna, but like the art made him look like a frog. Like the dude's eyes was popping out, and it didn't look great at times. And this was supposed to be like the best arc of JJK, and it is in my opinion. And calling games is really close to it, but like the art in the calling games was better, and there were so many more iconic panels, and like the domain clash, for instance, between Gojo and Sukuna, that was iconic. Like that panel was crazy. Higuruma pulling out the one shot sword, the executioner's blade, that was awesome. But like there were so many more panels, I feel like, in other chapters, even the earlier chapters, where like it feels like the art was spot on, and like you just don't get that from the final arc. And the final arc alone is supposed to be the most important, so I'm gonna grade it a lot harder. And like it still gets a 9 in my opinion, because it wouldn't be this high, but I kind of had to like poke at it a little bit, because it was bothersome when the manga was still in production. But let's go ahead and get on to the final rankings. And I kind of spoiled that one, but I'll go ahead and give the rest of them right now. Alright, to get into the rankings now. For importance, it's a 9. My enjoyment was a 10, and art style is a 9. To go over them briefly before I want to wrap this down. Like with the importance, the reason I couldn't rate it a 10 is like it's not it's not like a anime where like I really find too much importance in it. I find a lot of meanings in it through the characters, but most of the characters are like the ones with really cool concepts and all that. It's like they don't, I don't really relate to them or find them too important in my own life. And like Mahito, for instance, like people with like really cool concepts to them, like I find importance, I can see them as important to the story and all that, but it's not really like the characters as a whole will be important to me. Just a few, and some that I can like even relate to. But to go over the enjoyment now, to me, like the fighting, like I said earlier, like the fights in the JJK, there's always some kind of meaning or con artistry going through each one that makes them all so interesting and enjoyable to watch. And to go into like a character like I uh, wanted to mention earlier, it Sukuna, like he's like the first antagonist I've ever like read and like been up to date with, like in the manga or anime, where it really feels like the heroes of the story, the protags, the sorcerers, like they could have lost against him, and he was just that powerful, and it was convincing that he was through all of his fights to that point, and even during the raid where he was holding his own against multiple sorcerers, and even beat the strongest sorcerer amongst them, who was Gojo. And to get onto the art style now, excuse me, I had a yawn. But the art style, rating it at a 9, because I just like consistent art. I really like when an anime can stick to one type of art style, and for the most part, JJK does that, but just in the final arc and with some chapters, just on a week to week basis, you can notice when a chapter is rushed from somebody you really respect the work of and really enjoy like looking at the art and all that. And I did, but not with some of the stuff in the later arc of the show or and manga. But that's my little explanation before we go on to the end of this video. Yeah, to wind this video down, I just want to mention that I I can I I didn't I obviously couldn't fit everything I wanted to speak on about JJK in this video. So, like I said with the free run video and this video, like I can make ones in the future that'll be a lot better and a lot more in depth and with better editing. And I'm still trying my best with this one with what I have right now, but I do like just want to also say like I appreciate all the support because I hope I've done a good job of making a video to tell y'all how this anime is one of my favorites and how it's the most hype on that list. I also want to go ahead and assure that I can have another video out here soon for my next anime, which will, I guess we'll call it I hate to say it, but it's the Gunner anime of my favorites within the 10, and it's Kill la Kill. And I just say if you're gonna watch a Gunner anime, like at least have it be one with substance and some kind of story behind it and good animation, and like at least has something working with it besides all the fan service, we'll call it for right now. But that video will be out here in a couple days after this one. It just takes a little commitment to get into these videos for real, and I'm gonna keep trying my best to stay on a schedule with these. But I can assure that video will be out, and soon after that, the Naruto one. And with that one, I'll go ahead and spoil what my next couple will be. But I kind of want to do this one at a time, but I've kind of listed the next two already, so just be ready for those and stay in tune. But that's about it. Thanks for the support so far. I appreciate the new subscribers and the views on my last free run video. But until the next one, see y'all. Yeah, just one more disclaimer. If anybody has any recommendations on an anime to watch, or if I should like watch them and then review them, like just let me know in the comments and I'll for sure check them out. But thank y'all. See ya.